In the darkness just before dawn we set off on our perilous journey into the unknown. The rucksacks on our backs held climbing gear and coils of rope were slung around us. Cheerful Swiss bearers carried the really heavy loads. Singing alpine songs, we strutted along narrow streets, across a wooden footbridge, and then took a twisting pathway upward through the woods. We halted on the shores of a lake with shimmering blue waters. The view was breathtaking. Ranged around the lake was the range of mountains. On the far shore loomed the proudest peak of all, snow-capped Mount Amantala. The mighty pyramids towering skywards was our opponent. It was dotted with cliffs and crevasses, and great overhanging glaciers on its upper slopes. Splashing around told me my companions were frolicking in the lake. I joined them. Basil was wading around, informally greeting his expeditioners. Hilary Quinn, who wrote crime stories as a hobby, was a New Zealander who excelled in ice climbing. "Hilary, you were first choice," said Basil. He waved to Starati, Chabot, and the Maharaja of Benjistan, superb climbers of all. The ruler, once Basil's roommate at Radcliffe, had invited us to his palace in Asia. His private zoo featured small monkeys he himself had captured. Lord Adrian, world explorer, had finished his swim. He stood on shore wearing the usual red carnation. "Basil," he said, "I should have gone home on matters pertaining to my father's estate, but I postponed it. Couldn't pass up a chance like this." Basil nodded. "Wisely decided. You are equally at home on ocean floor or mountain top, and I appoint you historian." Young Richard, the American mathematician from Iowa, had already won fame for his rock climbing. "I appoint you surveyor," said Basil. "By the way, do you hail from your state's capital, Des Moines?" "From Devonport, Basil, and glad I came." The scientist climbers were welcome. Howard the geologist, Clifford the archaeologist, and a Swiss wolf the psychologist, plus photographer Jamaldi. But last but not least, Basil greeted the 20 Swiss mountaineers who had volunteered as bearers. We continued the climb, crossing rushing streams, linked to one another by ropes around our waists. We climbed sheer rock walls by finding potholes and footholds where less expert climbers might have seen none. Along our way were some scenes of startling beauty. Truly there is nothing like the mountain climbing to impress one of the grandeurs of nature and littleness of minds. Late one afternoon we stood admiring a flame sunset. Suddenly a gigantic paw was set down on the ground beside us. We looked up in terror, but the face of a friend beamed down at us. It was Elmo the Great, a brave Saint Bernard we had met on our last trip abroad. "Basil," said Elmo, "I had an odd experience high on the mountain, and something is stuck in my fur, something I cannot reach near my shoulder. Will you and Dr. Dawson be good enough to remove it?" We scrambled up the big dog's body and soon saw a tiny thing matted in his fur. A Turkish arrow. Once the arrow was removed, Basil questioned, Elmo the dog told us he had met a strange mouse-like animal above the snow line. Basil's eyes gleamed. Tell me, Elmo, was he a shaggy mouse with white fur, about 7 inches high? Elmo nodded. I barked, and was sorry I did, for the sound and the size of me frightened the creature terribly. He ran away but stumbled in the snow. I followed, thinking to help him to his feet. But he thought I meant to harm him. He got up and ran away. Soon afterward something dropped on my back from an overhanging ledge. A weapon, I suppose. A Turkish arrow, to be exact, said Basil. You were attacked by the adorable snow mouse. A good-hearted soul, he restored lost little mouselings to their parents, but is too shy to stay and be thanked. You must tell us just where this encounter took place, for this entire expedition is on his trail. Elmo listened with interest as Basil told of our mission and the trouble the professor had made. He growled, If ever I see the rascally Ratigan, I'll take him by the straps of his scurvy neck and trot him out to the Castle jail. Well, I'd be best going. Be sure to yodel if you should ever need my help. I roam about a lot, and this clear mountain air carries sounds for miles, of which the sun. Great strides took him from our sight in seconds. Let's make camp for the night, said Basil. We began pitching our tent. There were 12 2-mouse tents and 2 12-mouse tents. I looked at the lovely wooded scene. It's so peaceful here, I said. Had I known what lay ahead, I would never have uttered those words. We were to have still another encounter that day, one that was far from peaceful.